and welcome back to our conversation with Minister Nathi Mthethwa. They're saying that he should be a musician in order to be in this position, but of course he has a different view. Minister, talk to me quickly about Mambazo and Zuma. Just as an example of...
Well, just as an example, the Mambazo thing, its context is us professionalizing the industry.
Okay.
Where we're investing in academies. It's an academy, Mambazo Mobile Academy, they are talking about. But again, you know, sometimes people write as if they are bored, they have nothing to write about. Because somebody spoke about KwaZulu-Natal, Tegwini, funding former President Zuma. So somebody saw that story somewhere just to make the paper sell. Then you cut
so it has nothing to do with us and culture?
It has absolutely nothing to do. In fact, even Mambazo, with what they've been given and the conditions about the academy itself, has nothing to do with that. Absolutely. For me, so it's not a mistake.
Is it part of what we are taking
manufactured? Exactly. Something manufactured, and that's all.
One of the things that politicians sometimes get let down is by officials. Right? You may be running a good ship in your mind, the ministry and so on, but in the department there may be a bit of chaos. Are you sure, right, in terms of the reports that you have received and so on, that in terms of bureaucratic management, things are in order? One of the things that are said in that story is that someone who's a chief director, who's acting DG, right, in part of those, in some of the awards, right, he has actually signed off stuff that he motivated. Because if you are a chief director, you write a motivation to say, propose this, I need so much money. And then the person higher than you signs off to say yes. But if in the meantime you get promoted to be the DG, you can't sign off on your own motivation. Is that also fake news?
In the first instance, Charles Mambazo has never acted as the DG of the department. And for that matter, he could have acted if there was no DG. There is a DG in the department, Mkize. So he's never acted there in that way. Two, there's an adjudication committee which deals with all the things, finances and so on. It's not even him as chief director who deal with those things. So, and you could see how this thing is playing out, that I did warn the DG of the department that in the consequence management stance you are taking, there's going to be pushback. So you can tell that these are people who are disgruntled because of consequence management, and they feed lies and people don't even check what they are being fed.
But I suppose it's good for you to clarify so we get it out of the way.
Absolutely.
You know, because it's not like we'll have you here next week. It took a bit of time for you to get here. So I just want to get all these things out of the way. Your department is responsible for the inauguration, right? And you are responsible for the last inauguration, I suspect. 240 million rands on an inauguration. That's extraordinary. Well, what sort of expense is that? I mean, I'm sure you were worried when you saw it yourself.
No, the inauguration and the costs thereof have a lot of things included there. It's not only one section, it would be culture program, it would be security program, and many other things. So I think if you compare it with the past inaugurations, it compares favorably.
Oh, you see, there was a discount?
Well, it was. There was this time around and so on, because there was a very deliberate instruction from the president that let us cut whatever is happening. Let's ensure that you cut, but still make it for the country,
to be decent.
You know, decent, I mean, welcoming other countries, not like a Mickey Mouse thing. It's a presidential inauguration, but at the same time being sensitive of the economic situation.
But are you, because you are not just in charge of the inauguration, but in charge of the national events, and it's almost the same sort of theme, you know, you've got a rally, you've got dignitaries, and then you have a concert. Have you examined that there's no leakage and wastage? Because if you look at the inauguration, for example, and it, again, it came from this article, it may be wrong or right, right? So a fellow called James Ngobo, who's actually a civil servant working in another place, you know, apparently there was given a contract of 2.5 million just to do choreography, or what you call to be a music director of the inauguration. Now, if you attend the inauguration, before it was even 2 o'clock, the stadium was empty. And those artists performed to an empty, and I'm not exaggerating because I was, you know, because of the transportation thing, we decided to stay there for a while and allow the stadium to empty. It was empty, and then those artists were performing to an empty stadium just to tick the box, yeah, right? And I'm not, because I haven't attended similar events recently, I'm not sure whether in your assessment there is some leakages that are happening with some of these events that are happening as routine, but we end up wasting money.
Well, sometimes that happens, JJ. Look, you are not going to predict what people will do when you have made preparations for artistic, cultural program and so on. The aim is that you have people sitting there going through whatever is offered on the day. But, well, if they decide to go in a stadium of 30,000 people and you are only left with 5,000, 10,000 people, it's a loss in the sense that not everybody is there, but it was planned that they are there. That not even the artist will have control over.
Can't control.
And
but they have
the
to
guy
perform anyway.
They have to perform. The guy who was, he's not a public servant. He's employed by the market theatre.
Yes.
And there is a rule that because the market theatre is an entity of government,
the city,
if you are to work and provide service for government, you have to take a leave so that period you are not paid for. Whatever.
So there was nothing controversial about being given a separate contract?
There was nothing controversial even with the kind of product he put together. Because it was the issue of a calabash, which had all the ethnic groups, everybody there,
no, I saw that.
like what they are raising now. In fact, it's him who ensured that everybody is there across the board.
So you are happy with it. But this thing I'm raising about leakages, where events are seen as, if you like, the tender stops. You know, we're going to have a tender about everything. One of the things that sometimes frustrate me is this so-called accreditation. You know, that we all have passports and IDs, but every time you go and register anew, and then there is a lot of money spent on all these big tags, and so there's a tender for that. There's a tender for transport, buses, you name it. You know, is this something that you've examined, or you just think it's something that has just gone on a straight line since you took over? Because it's really a worrisome factor.
No, at face value, when you look at some of the things, they may seem as a waste of time. But there are things you cannot compromise. The issue of credentials becomes important. So many examples around the world on such issues as security and so on. Those are important. The procurement processes in government are well regulated. From time to time, you'd look at what you have and what you're supposed to have at the end of the day. There's assessment all the time. Sometimes you feel, because of the evidence which is there, no, you could have done it better this way. And then you tweak and turn and change things and so on. But generally, I think that if you look at the national days, the only area which is a challenge in the project of social cohesion is having people across the board.
I wanted to come to that.
It's having people across the board.
In the past, maybe about 2 terms ago or so, they used to even have representatives of other political parties to speak at those functions to make sure that they don't get turned into, for lack of a better way, an ANC rally, right? So you have people from different political, that sort of disappeared, and I would like you to talk a little bit about your own approach to social cohesion, because there was a social cohesion summit about 4 years ago, right? Has there been follow-up of concrete things that you can tell me, right, that demonstrate some kind of a success on social cohesion. But before we go to a break, quickly on this one of political parties being invited, so that you
No,
don't just
they were invited, and,
Yeah.
and the aim for them was that they were going to be bringing their constituencies.
So they didn't.
They never did.
No,
because
but
that,
there are assuming people in the stadium were not their constituency.
No, what happened, I mean, people can express themselves
Yeah.
and have their T-shirts and so
Sure.
on. It's not a problem, you know. It's seen as a problem because you see one dominant T-shirt, which we're trying to
change, yeah.
to change. But people came and addressed and never went back and mobilized their people to come and, you know,
So
attend.
you cancelled it because of that?
Well, there was no point, especially because what happened in the past is that you had so many speakers, a long list of speakers. By the time the main speaker would come, half of the stadium is gone.
left.
You know,
But maybe you need
right now
Yeah.
you have only one speaker, which is the head of
president,
state,
yeah.
to speak on the day. Yeah.
But is it effective, these things, man? Because surely there must be a different
Well,
way of structuring how to mark national days rather
well,
than a big rally.
No. There are other, you know, build-up programs,
Yeah.
house meetings and so on. Those have started.
Okay.
Community conversations and all those things. Those have started, but still, you still need that massive...
A culmination.
A culmination.
Yeah.
It shouldn't end there. For now, it ends there, but you need everybody. Because the most important thing is that South Africans should be able to share spaces.
All right. Let's talk about social cohesion straight after the break. I want you to tell me, right, what's your own assessment? And unfortunately, we're not talking to you as a new minister. I'm talking to you as also an old minister of arts and culture. Social cohesion being a big song and dance, but is there something concrete you can tell me that is that can assure South Africans that we are building a socially cohesive nation? We're talking to Minister of Arts, Culture and Sports, Minister Nathi Mthethwa. Stay tuned for more conversation after this.